So One Piece chapter 1179 gave us the big reveal of IMU, the ruler of the world. And as IMU descended to the lower realm that is Elbaf, I thought what could he possibly want here other than a heads up with Luffy and Loki? But how will the interactions between them go? And what will happen to the island of Elbaf? Will it also be exterminated like the island of God Valley was decades ago? The first few pages of the chapter is mostly about the Gorosei trying to stop IMU from leaving the Holy Land, and saying how crazy it is for him to even suggest something like that. Some of them do understand his decision, like Garling and Nishijuro, who get it because the admirals are busy somewhere else. And though the situation at Marijua is volatile, with them having a shortage of food supply, it's reasonable that IMU has decided to make his move now more than ever because he saw when he was in Gunkko's body, Loki's true form, his devil fruit Nidhogger, and he already knew about Nika as Luffy from Egghead and Wano. But seeing the War God and Nika have teamed up to foil their plan of abducting Kid Giants from Elbaf, that one really hit home for IMU. We get more insight into why he wanted to leave with the flashback panels showing images of Zebek, Roger, Shanks, Blackbeard, and Vivi. IMU thinks it's fate that he's on the opposite side of Nika and Nidhogger, which means back during the Void Century, the 20 United Kingdoms led by IMU fought against Joy Boy or Nika with the Ancient Kingdom, and potentially Nidhogger of the time. So IMU naturally sees it as his responsibility to put down any remnants associated with the Ancient Kingdom. Perhaps the meaning of the D-Clan is to be descendants or affiliates with the Ancient Kingdom who went against IMU's 20 kingdoms back in the Void Century. I know that is a gross oversimplification of the meaning of D. There's obviously more to it than just that, but it's definitely something to do with the members of the Ancient Kingdom. There are two other subtle plot points introduced in this chapter that some people may have ignored, and that is the God Knight's fragility and Gunkko's comeback. Firstly, Summers was shown to have a steel heart, which lets us know that advanced Conqueror's Haki is not the only method to take out Saint Summers, and potentially any God Knight. This could also be hinting that the God Knights are not naturally created, or that they have been physically and mechanically altered some way, because it's obviously unnatural for them to have hearts of steel. And it's very suspicious that Frankie said as an offhand remark just a panel later that he wanted to make Brook and Usopp cyborgs after seeing how hurt they were fighting Gunkko. It could be totally unrelated, but I don't think it is a coincidence for Frankie to say that right after showing the mechanical part of Summer's body. The God Knights are cyborgs? Maybe. Now them being cyborgs or mechanical necessarily need a top tier to take one of these dudes out. Like at the start of this arc, the way Oda was building up the God Knight's regenerative capabilities and Scopper's technique in circumventing them, I thought for sure the God Knights were going to be put up against the monster trio in the final war, but now not so much. If the other God Knights members are as sorry as Saint Summers, then I can see the revolutionary members being the one to take them out, when they eventually figure them out. Next, let's talk about Gunkko. A few chapters ago, Gunkko was confronted by Brook, and her past life was uncovered. She was Princess Shuri of an unknown kingdom, and her father was apparently Brook's benefactor. We already knew that she liked Brook's music, but this revelation made it clear that Brook and Gunkko were close when Gunkko was little. But since Brook was also close to her father, and Brook believes she killed her father, he feels some type of way towards her. Soon after getting flashbacks to her past life, Gunkko was rudely interrupted by IMU, forcibly taken over by him. Since then, Gunkko took on Luffy and Loki, ultimately getting frozen by Loki's Nibelheim attack. And in this chapter, Loki talks about the nature of his attack. Nibelheim doesn't kill its victims, but flash freezes them in place, and they can't be thawed out by anything other than Ragnar's will, or that is what we're told, because we see a panel of Gunkko's body in the ice, and the ice is cracked, which could be foreshadowing that she will break out of her ice shell in the upcoming chapters. Technically, IMU already escaped from Nibelheim, but you can say that IMU was there only in spirit and not in actuality. Regardless, I think IMU can easily break out of Loki's attack, and it's very likely that Loki will use the same attack in the next chapter, and it will be used as a hype tool for IMU as a way to flex his powers. Lastly, let's talk about Nerona IMU himself, and his appearance in Elbaf, and what exactly we will see next. Well, for one, IMU must be pretty pissed because they were so close to leaving the island with the Kid Giants before Loki turned into a dragon and Luffy caught them in his belly, and since that moment everything has gone wrong for IMU's knights. Like I said before, the imagery of Nidhogger and Nika together is the biggest reason that IMU goes to Elbaf on his own, so he could put out the flames that their appearance has ignited. Jirul also said for everyone to hear that Elbaf is vehemently against the world government's actions and will be fighting against them in the final war. So all of these things culminate to IMU showing up in Elbaf, and honestly, there has to be a significant casualty on the side of the Alliance. Like this is in all likelihood the final villain pulling up to Elbaf, because it is his last option. There has to be bodies falling to the floor. And no, I'm not talking about someone like Scopper or Dorian Broggy. It has to be meaningful. Dory and Broggy already had their fake out death when they decapitated each other, only to come back because apparently death is the only way out of the Domi reversal, even though that was not the same for Zebek or Zebek's parents. But let's not get into that right now. The point is, I don't see people falling for the Dory and Broggy fake out death again, and the kid giants are gonna be safe, we think. I think if there was ever a strong likelihood of a Straw Hat dying, this is it. Robin is of course a prime candidate because of her unique ability to decipher the poneglyphs, and her being the sole survivor of O'Hara, Saul notwithstanding. And a lot of people in the past have theorized Usopp being the Straw Hat that will die in the story, and thematically it would make sense that it's in Elbaf. But just think about where we are with Usopp right now. Do you honestly think his character arc is complete? Death should be a send-off for a heroic character, and only once after their character arc is complete, or they serve no purpose to the story. I just think Usopp hasn't had enough moments, and I mean character moments, that would justify him being killed off. So if not Usopp, then who? People like Ripley and Scopper, we don't feel an emotional connection to, so would people even care? Perhaps there is no death awaiting the Alliance members, and it is true that you don't always need death for stakes to be realized in stories, but there has to be massive tension and pressure exerted on the characters on Elbaf. There needs to be consequences for Imu leaving the throne room, and that could be done by kidnapping one of the Straw Hat members, or teleporting them out of Elbaf a la Sabaody arc, a way to bring the group to Merijoa. But I don't know if I see them in the Holy Land for the final war. I feel like that fight is for the revolutionaries and Dragon to deal with. Regardless of how Imu acts, it feels surreal that we're actually here in the story after so many years of seeing just his eyes and a shadowy figure float in the Holy Land. Seeing his actual form is rewarding. But that's gonna do it for this video. Guys, what are your thoughts on Imu's plan on Elbaf? Is he here to abduct one of the crew, or does he seriously think he can take on Loki and Luffy at the same time? Can he really? Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe. It's free, I promise. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.